What's happening now is slightly more advanced. So now, previously, when they could ban complete websites, and we've seen that in the case of TikTok, we've seen that in the case of YouTube, what they're doing now is basically throttling specific apps. They can also potentially block individual pieces of content. So the layer of content filtering has become more advanced.
Clearly, as Ramsha says, something is at play. There needs to be disclosure. There's already been considerable damage to ensure that Pakistan does not suffer even more reputationally, but also financially as a result of what is going on. Hello and welcome to another edition of the Digital Rights series for DawnNews English. My name is Farieha Aziz. Today with me is Ramsha Jahangir, who is the author of the article that we are all sharing and speaking about, titled What's Happening with the Internet in Pakistan. Thank you, Ramsha, for joining us today. If we can begin with the internet infrastructure in Pakistan. So where the internet, in terms of the lines and where we get, bandwidth, etc. If you can lay that out for us.
Thanks, Farieha. Thanks for doing this very important segment. There's a lot of confusion going around with what's happening with the internet in Pakistan, and my goal with this article was to try and break it down, what's happening, what's new, and what's not changed. So firstly, on an infrastructure level, it's pretty simple because in Pakistan, the internet is pretty concentrated. When I say concentrated, it means that the bulk of Pakistan's internet traffic comes from two ISPs, that is PTCL and Transworld. So basically, PTCL and Transworld are like these large nodes which dominate the inflow of internet traffic for Pakistan, which also makes it easier for implementing controls like web management system and firewall that we've been talking about, but also it makes it weak and open to vulnerabilities. And this is what we've seen in the past, that, for instance, this physical fault on a submarine cable level has happened many times in the past. Internet disruptions and throttling is not new to Pakistan. Also, when something like floods happen, internet connectivity is disrupted. So it's about faults or disruptions. Because of this concentration at PTCL and Transworld, Pakistan suffers a lot for a variety of reasons. One of the issues is now on this infrastructure level that we saw, for instance, last time on June 17, PTCL completely lost 3 international transit providers, which reduced the company's international bandwidth. And obviously, this impacted the whole internet experience of Pakistan because, like I said, there's a lot of load on these providers. What's different this time, though, is that it's not just that internet is slow, it's also certain applications that are low. So we've been hearing complaints about WhatsApp. People are not able to download images. Calls are not going through. We're witnessing a lot of application-specific disruption. Then another thing is also, it's public knowledge, government has also said on record that X has been disabled or throttled in Pakistan. So we also have that example of application-specific throttling. And then also the timing of these disruptions. So since elections and actually last year, we've seen often these applications are made inaccessible or slow or completely banned around political speeches, around protests. So we can't obviously not take that whole political context into account.
Can you just quickly explain how CDNs serve that in terms of reducing latency as well?
So when we access, for instance, if I load a website, a lot of this is hosted by international players like Netflix, Cloudflare, Meta, Google, these big players, and they host CDNs that provides this access to countries on a national level. And this is not just unique to Pakistan, this is just how the global internet works. And the whole idea of an internet is global interoperability, that it's distributed across different networks. So what's happening potentially in Pakistan is issue is at the gateway level. So what is gateway and how does content filtering work at the national gateway level is, so this is not just one firewall system that a lot of us have been thinking that this is how it works. It's different levels of content or application filtering at the gateway level. So basically where internet enters and exits Pakistan. So it's all multi-layered. So you install stuff like URL filtering and IP filtering. This is one technique that happens at a gateway level. So you can basically, and this has happened in Pakistan over the years, we've seen this in YouTube case. There's a lot of precedent and also on record evidence that Pakistan has been doing this. So for instance, in URL filtering, you can basically decide this website, this link, I don't want it to be accessible in Pakistan. So I can block or disrupt access to specific websites based on their URL. So this kind of intervention happens at the gateway level. This is where traffic enters or exits Pakistan. So it's easier to control. And again, all of this is happening at transferred potentially or PTCL because that controls the internet infrastructure in Pakistan.
What are you noticing what your article essentially is out, right? Given this internet infrastructure that we have. Can you just unpack that for those who are watching?
So what I basically talk about is first the infrastructure level, what Pakistan's resilience is, and it's not very strong. And I just described why we have so many faults, why internet disruptions are common in Pakistan, and why placing more controls is not a good idea. And it's only going to make the internet more costly, more slow. And the authorities have said that in a few days this issue will be resolved, and it might be resolved because there is disruption at the cable level, but it will become more frequent. And we've already seen this since last year. These disruptions have become more frequent, and on an application level, the issue is persisting, specifically with WhatsApp and Twitter. So what's happened is they have luckily this time acknowledged that they are updating a web management system, WMS, for cybersecurity reasons. I'm going to take the audience back a little bit to 2018. So 2018, same conversation happened. Uproar that they're establishing some system, they're deploying a system. Nobody knew what the system is about, and the government was not at all, or PTA did not on record say that they want to do this. It was just rumors. And then after we published, and I actually published this story, we obtained the contract for this web monitoring system, which was actually acquired from this controversial company, Sandvine, which is known for surveillance capabilities worldwide. In fact, this year, US has actually there's been a lot of international advocacy on banning sale of these technologies for the same reasons. So we published this, and then suddenly PTA goes in clarification response to this article saying that, yes, we are deploying this system, but this is for cybersecurity reasons. So they completely changed their narrative. What's happening this time is now they know that it is already on record that they have but they deployed a web management system before. So this time they've conveniently actually, after many different excuses, and it's continuing to happen, but at least acknowledged, the IT minister has acknowledged, PTA has acknowledged that they're deploying a web management system and they're updating it. So at least this piece we have on record. What's happening now is slightly more advanced. So now previously where they could ban complete websites, and we've seen that in the case of TikTok, we've seen that in the case of YouTube. What they're doing now is basically throttling specific apps. They can also potentially block individual pieces of content, so the layer of content filtering has become more advanced. The issue is again transparency. They've said that they're deploying this web management system, but because we don't have access to the new contract, who they have acquired this from, and we don't know the exact capabilities of this network, it's hard to say what all they can actually do, but again, there is a lot of evidence that points to how advanced this is becoming.
Can deep packet inspection technology from a traffic data, metadata point of view do something that is not just sort of platform-based, application-based, but specifically, like you said, certain content or information, which perhaps may not be removed from the platform because that's only what the platform can do, but access can be throttled or prevented to a piece of content? Is that the enhanced capability which seems like evidence is pointing towards?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, we can't be 100% sure till we actually have the contract, but it is definitely pointing to that because some users have, with WhatsApp at least, we are very sure we have seen people struggle downloading specific audio or videos or images. So with DPI, you can't intercept encrypted information. I will put that out on record. For instance, WhatsApp is end-to-end encrypted, Signal is end-to-end encrypted. You can't access that content, but what you can tell is, for instance, metadata is So for instance, you can tell potentially who is talking to who. You can trace IP. So you can tell if someone is using VPN because DPI, the technology can identify VPN-like traffic. So you can tell if someone's trying to hide their IP. You can definitely trace IP if they're not using VPN. And the other thing that's very, very alarming and important is your device. So of course, all your apps and your internet activity is on a device, so your mobile phones and laptops. So even if they can't intercept encrypted information, they can access traffic records through your telcos, and they can access metadata, which often contains personal information. So pictures, you can say potentially also banking information. Again, the type of content, if someone had said a photo or a video, or those types of contents, like there's a lot that you can already tell about the kind of communication the person is indulging in. And if we put it in a surveillance context, the idea in Pakistan and also in other surveillance countries is basically to trace people who are involved in certain activities, or someone who posted something on a platform that they find problematic. So A is removing that content, and we've seen enough actually more very recently, they've reported some content to Twitter for removal. And when platforms don't comply, they want to trace it back and somehow prove it that this is the person responsible for it. So from a content perspective, their content removal capabilities are advancing. And then on the other hand, they're also trying to enhance their capability to trace and tell who sent what type of message and who sent it to who, and also what location they sent it from. And again, we don't have any existing safeguards for data privacy in Pakistan. I mean, that is not even a priority. We see such freedom of expression, basic human rights being surveilled here. So collection of data is another thing. They want to localize, they want to store data in Pakistan, but where is that data going to be stored? If they take your device, which is happening in a lot of cases with activists and journalists, where do they store that data? Who has access to that data? For how long will that data be stored are also bigger questions, because once they have your device, they basically have everything.
Thank you, Ramsha, for joining Dawn News English and the Digital Rights series. Clearly, Ramsha says something is at play. There needs to be disclosure. There's already been considerable damage. And to ensure that Pakistan does not suffer even more reputationally, but also financially as a result of what is going on, it is vital that the authorities come on record and actually say what is happening. Thank you for joining us today.